All right, the gang's all here.
All right, welcome everybody. Well, let me call the meeting to order and ask firstly whether or not there has been any public comments received.
I have one person who called me and asked me to put something before you, but I don't know if that's regular business or what, so I'll wait.
Now,
Go ahead.
what's the process with that? If someone calls and wants to put something on the meeting agenda, in essence, does that have to be postponed until it's made public?
If it's correspondence, you can do it under correspondence. You know, I don't know if somebody wrote or emailed to you or.
She was at the meeting yesterday and she had a concern that she wanted to ask you folks about, that's all. I don't think it's that deadly or anything.
I'm just looking at the agenda. I guess I would put it under number 11 just to qualify it if you want to.
Okay.
All right.
And just one thought, which doesn't belong in here either, but at the town meeting on Saturday, I had a couple of people come up to me and saying they were interested in joining the finance committee. One was Adam, who was on it before, Ken and Barbara, you remember him?
Yes.
And I said, you know, send a letter to Ed. And also another resident who lives up the street from me was interested, and I asked them to send a letter to Ed or tune into the meeting tonight, and, you know, in case he wanted to view it. And there was a third person, I forget her name, and I just told him the same process. So it sounds like we've got some interest to fill that fifth position, hopefully.
Good.
Great.
All right. Approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. I think we all received a copy of the minutes. Do I hear a motion for their approval?
I motion that we accept the meeting notes, comments. What is it called? Minutes.
And one comment on them, you really don't need to attach any of the documents.
But if I prefer to, is there a problem with that, Ed?
You're going to make them awfully long, longer than is necessary.
Okay. What I was thinking of doing actually is the slide deck would have the general fund status listed on that and include that as an attachment to.
It's up to you. I can tell you that your minutes are now longer than anyone else's minutes by doing that. Generally, you just refer to, you know, the expense report or the expense or revenue report of such and such a date.
By longer, Mary, he meant more comprehensive.
That's just that when I look at minutes and it refers to, say, an issue, etc., it's always good to actually go back to the source document, especially if, you know, you've got new people that will be coming onto the committee. My assumption would be that they would want to look to see what was the history, you know, what has the committee done, how do they look at the material, what is the material that they look at. So to have a source document for them to look at gives them a good understanding of, you know, what's involved with this committee. And that's where I was looking at, you know, including that so they would be able to have some reference point.
So my thought there to the finance committee is, you heard a couple of comments, but you four can decide what you want to do for minutes, and however you decide, it's up to you four. And I will just have comments for you. That's all. So it's not up to us. I would recommend on the minutes, if you put review finance committee meeting minutes from and put the dates of them. But that's my, I guess, only comment.
All right.
I didn't hear if someone seconded the motion.
Right, they have not. So it's moved by Barbara. I need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Rachel.
Mhm.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? If none, we'll have to take a roll, I guess. Again, Barbara,
Yay.
Mary,
Yay.
Rachel,
Hey,
and I. Yay. All right. But while we're on the minutes, John, did you have any success in getting those other minutes from Adam?
Wish I could say it. When I saw him Saturday, I asked him, but I forgot about it, to be honest with you. So I will write it down a second time, okay?
All right. All right, number 4, review funds fiscal year 2021. What do we have for that?
Want me to share the screen?
Yep. That'll be the expense report that was sent out.
I can bring that up.
Do you want me to share the screen so everybody can look at it?
Sure. Yeah, I thought that's what
Yeah.
we were going to do.
Great.
Let's see if this is going to work. Let me see.
Mary, I have a question for you as you get that up. On the, where it has percentage spent, where there's highlighted items, were those already highlighted or was that?
No, actually, what I did is I went back and I just highlighted some of the line items. Since this is as of the 8th of October, where basically the first quarter has passed, so 25%, 26% is kind of like the area that we should be at. So like we're looking at the first slide here, the administration expenses. On budget of 1,100, we've already spent at this point in time, and this is as of 8 October, 48% of the funds. So I just highlighted those areas just to bring some attention to areas that perhaps further down the line in the fiscal year that will be looking for, funding, if you will.
Okay.
Okay, does that make sense?
It does. Thanks for the clarification.
And what I did is for general, since it's such a large area, I looked at, I used the Department of Revenue, Division of Local Services has a UMass handbook. And from there, I was able to find subcategories, if you will, under general government. And it kind of followed in line with the status of funds that we received. So I broke it down. Here's the executive portion. When you look at this section, it's basically financial administration. The only area is the software support. And we knew from the last report that the software requested was a little higher than anticipated. So we knew that one was going to be a little higher. And then here, the election registration expenses is 50% spent. And then when we look at the technology services, we're 40% spent as of the 8th of October. And again, the billing, don't know if that's if it's on a monthly or as needed, et cetera, but just wanted to highlight those areas that were a little more high spend rate. And this is the end of the general government. Then we have public safety. When we look at the police department, we see that their police equipment maintenance is basically 66% spent right now of their budget.
Yeah, just if you want comments on the way, equipment maintenance, that's paid up front in the fiscal year for the whole year. So those maintenance agreements, software agreements are front loaded into the first couple of months. That's why you see that.
Yeah, and it's just that I highlighted this because the last report we received, which was the 24th of September, I believe, there were a couple of lines that were higher spend rates. They adjusted some of those. They moved the money out of custodial and they moved it into maintenance and expenses, et cetera. So they brought down some of those rates. However, that maintenance equipment is still at the 66% rate. And I just wanted to just highlight, so we see, again, we're at the end of first quarter. So, and I understand about front loading annual contracts, et cetera, that, you'd be 100% spent at this time. So then we're looking at the fire department, they're pretty on target. Same thing with the building inspector. So total of public safety, we're at 24%, which is, we're on target. Education, the question I had on this is those two added lines, the school choice tuition and the charter school
Here.
Those two items, the budget, 66,000, and then the 118,000 for charter school tuition. Those weren't on the original fund request that we saw last go around, and also they weren't even part of the budget that was presented at the annual town meeting in August. So I'm just wondering, where did the funds come from those two items?
Well, when you say they weren't on there, they're on there under education in the expense report that we normally get each month.
No, those two actually weren't. These are added. Those weren't on the last one. And then what I'm getting at is when we had the annual town meeting where the annual budget was, the line items were all there, and the town people actually approved it, the budget for education was $11.4 million and some change. Now we're at 11.6. So my question is, where do those two, the charter school tuition, the school choice tuition, where did those dollars come from? Where is that money appropriated from? Am I making myself clear what I'm asking?
They actually come from state aid revenue, and the flip side of state aid revenue is state aid assessments.
Okay, so all right, so it's not actually coming from the town people then. So that's okay that this is a higher budget than what was actually approved at the ATM.
Well, it still comes from us, but it's rather than going through the budget process, it's recorded in those automatic charges and on the other side, revenues from the state.
Should that be a separate line item? Because I mean, should that be a separate line item if that's the case, or a subset? Because Mary's point's well taken, that if somebody's looking at this and saying it's, the budget was 11.4, but there's a number showing at 11.6.
But you can't double count it and put it back into the budget.
No, I'm not asking that. Well, all I'm saying is if the number was 11.4 that was approved, but yet we're showing a number of 11.6, shouldn't we identify the difference and say that it's non-budgetary, or it's non-revenue, if you will?
Unfortunately, we're working on software programs here. I don't know if that can be done there or not.
Okay.
Can I just back us up for just a moment? Just for clarification purposes, I've been in other finance committees where typically an individual who's very much involved in the maintenance of the budget and the expenditures and whatnot will tend to give their overview before we even start to ask questions, because I feel like I'm in the boat with no paddles, because I'm not sure. It'd be nice to know. I know that, John, you touched upon it a little bit, of things that are perhaps fixed costs that need to come out early on as opposed through the entire fiscal year. But it would just be nice to have an overview of what happened over the month. And I'm not sure if that's you, Ed. That would be presenting that, but I'm just accustomed to having an individual who's much more closely involved in the day-to-day presenting something before we start asking all these questions.
And once we have our new town accountant, that can happen.
Okay.
And where is that process, Ed? Has a new town accountant been identified?
No, we just got the resignation about a week ago, and we're in the process of going through and getting approvals to post that.
Okay.
So the individual who was at the special town meeting on Saturday has submitted her resignation? Is that?
Yes.
Okay.
He has submitted a resignation, going to Westfield to be their auditor.
Okay.
Is there still going to be someone in the office with some corporate knowledge where you get a replacement?
I'm sorry, you were breaking up?
Oh, I'm sorry. Is there another individual in the office who will have the corporate knowledge while we're in this interim position right now?
No.
You're not going to like I was going to say the assistant town accountant also is retiring and she's leaving too. So we're without the town accountant and the assistant. So it's not a great time from an accounting point of view. As Ed was saying, we reviewed the job descriptions and Ed, you put in the PCFs and all that to get it replaced. So we're doing an emergency, an interim, and then a permanent to make sure we have somebody in place.
Is it beyond our purview to ask why the accountant is leaving?
More money? Basically a promotion?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a full-time position, as I understand it, in Westfield with more higher pay. And it's an auditing position versus it's an auditor position. I guess I don't know the scope of the work, so I shouldn't comment, but
Right.
That's the name of the position.
Now, John, when you say full-time, is that the difference between a 4-day week and a 5-day week?
I believe it was full-time, wasn't it, Ed? Or am I not remembering what you said?
It would be a 3-hour week, which is what we have as a 30-hour week.
Okay. Okay, well, good luck during that time frame that you're looking and no one in the office.
And will they be trained the new person?
Did she give enough of a resignation notice?
There isn't.
Yeah, she gave almost a month.
Oh. So we've had our ads out there for a month, looking for someone? 3 weeks?
No, we have a very formal process that we have to go through to post and hire. It has to go through PPPB as a PRF, then finance, and then also the select board.
Okay.
So hire.
But the emergency doesn't need to go through that, correct, Ed?
Well, yeah, that just needs P approval.
Yeah, so are we out there looking? I know we spoke and sat down and did this week before last, so is it out there where we're looking for candidates now?
Not yet. We put that together, and the PRF went to the PPPB, who meets Thursday.
But what about for an emergency? We don't need the PPPB, do we, for that? I thought we could just go out and hire.
No, it's supposed to be approved by PPPB to do that, but I'm gonna sneak the posting out earlier this week.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other questions, comments, discussion on the funds report?
I do have another question. At the meeting, at the special meeting, one of the items was not voted on. So how does that make its way out? How does it, when does it affect this budget? Or will it, and it was the computers, the designation for computers, additional computers.
Well, those funds wouldn't be in this report until it got passed or unless it got passed. So currently those funds are not in here we're looking at.
Okay.
They would have been reported in that particular case under, rather than what's the expense report under general fund, but capital funds.
Okay.
But where's the $8,000 that Vicky was referring to?
It would be under section 30 capital funds.
30.
Yeah. Page 11 of your report.
Town hall PC and software?
Yeah, and actual balance in there is actually about $6,500 because we have expended some of those funds recently.
Okay. So how is that decision going to be made as to, or did the vote make that decision?
That vote made that decision.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and get the software, and it's going to be, the funds are going to come from that account. Or
What will happen is hopefully we will be able to get the laptops rather than desktop PCs for the department heads.
Yep.
Through the CARES Act funding, which we apply for later this month. And if that's the case, we'll use the CARES Act funding for the laptops for the department heads. And then this will be available for place the PCs for the individuals that work under those department heads. Because originally this was intended for some of the department heads, mostly the departments that are finance related, like the town accountant's office, the assessor's office, and the treasurer's office.
Okay. All right. Any other questions, comments on the funds? If not, can I hear a motion to accept the report as submitted?
I don't think we have to do that.
What's that?
I don't think we have to accept the revenue report. I mean, the expense report. Do we?
Correct.
No, it's just informational purposes. You have to accept it.
All right. Okay, number 5, review department requests, if any. Anyone aware of any?
Hey, Mary, could you free up the screen, please? Thank you.
All right, so there are none. PRF, We do have one of those, is that correct?
Yes, you do. For Emergency Management Director, which would be a new position and would be paid for as a stipend as long as the CARES Act funds are available to us. And due to COVID-19, the normal amount of work or the regular amount of work that Emergency Management Director would be required to do has probably increased about 10 or 20 times over it. And that's why the Select Board is looking at making it a stipend position while that CARES Act funding is available.
Requested start date September 1st.
Yeah, this has gone through a couple of changeovers, and it was the job description was approved by the PPPB, and then the Select Board had to have it changed and sent back to them. So that's why that September 1st date is on this original one.
I have a question.
Yes.
The agenda indicates that we had no PRS for consideration, and that was publicly posted in accordance with the open meeting law 48 hours in advance. This was received after the agenda was posted. So do we have authority to go ahead and consider this, given the fact that the public's not aware that we're considering this? We showed none on the agenda.
You can do it. You can do it under any other business.
We can move it to new business?
No, any other business.
Oh, any other business, okay.
So, all right, so any other business is a catch-all for anything that may have come to the committee's attention after the posting.
Correct. That really shouldn't wait until the next meeting.
Okay.
Did everyone receive that? I didn't receive the PRF for that. Was it?
It was mark number, I think it's mark number 5. The attachment is 5 on that email.
Yeah, it says PRF and DIR.
Find it, Rachel?
I see it says +2, but I actually cannot access the additional 2 items for whatever reason. But that's fine. I won't keep everyone up for that. I won't delay.
All right, so our issue becomes the, in essence, the stipend. Is that correct?
Correct. Well, your issue with these would be, okay, they're going to post for a position. Is there funding available for that position? Exactly. And that's why the accountant has to sign off on them over that initial by accounting.
Okay, so, all right, so that's the board member's signature?
It's a town accountant's initial. If you can down at the PPPB board, signatures from, the PPP board.
Okay. Yeah, all right, BLM, okay, I see it. Okay, and we do have the funding?
Yes, we do.
All right.
It's approved in phase 1 of CARES Act.
Okay. All right, do I hear a motion? We can discuss it further.
I do have one comment, and again, it doesn't have to do with the stipend, but on the PD, the position description, if you look at under section, the essential functions, paragraph 7, it talks about grant opportunities that the individual, the incumbent of the position, as they're going out for grants, et cetera, the requirements of notifying the town administrator, the town accountant. I think it would be a good idea also that the finance committee be included on that, so we would be aware of funding that perhaps would also include that position. So we have advance notice that funds are coming and are in place for a position in the future. So is that something that could be added to the PD?
Remember, Ed was saying
No,
we have,
not at this point. The job description's been approved.
yeah, we have
But
to
we
go
can still,
through the process. Sorry, Ed.
yeah,
Cyber's
it's
off?
okay. But we can still have the town accountant make available to the finance committee what has been approved for, and we've got accepted grants.
Okay. Any other questions? Not, do I hear a motion? No motion?
If we don't get this going through, we're going to be without an EMD at the end of October because the person we have in place now has agreed to stay on until the end of October. And what happens is if we don't get somebody new, by mass statute, the chair of the board of select board, the chair of the select board is automatically the new EMD. And you don't want to put that on a person that isn't able to do it because she's working full time now as a nurse. So this would be pretty crippling to the town during this COVID time if we didn't have an EMD in place.
John, I have a question. After the stipend, and the funds run out, the position goes back to a volunteer position, correct?
If they can't find more funding, and that's why it's in the EMD's position also. But also we have an ad hoc committee and members of four members that look for various grants out there that we can apply for all different departments in the town in general. So that was just recently made up so that there would be a specific group that would be looking for grants rather than each department head trying to look for their own. And they will work with the department heads. If the grant, say, is applicable to EMD, they'll work with the EMD on that grant. If it's applicable to accounting, they'll work with the accountant.
Pardon my ignorance. It says it's a new position, but yet you're saying that there is an EMD now.
Yeah, volunteer EMD. This is making it an official position that we're advertising and went through the PQB and everything for a job description.
Yeah.
And we're not setting a precedence that now it's paid, that will be under, if you will, to always get a grant to have money in place, right?
Well, if we don't, it goes to voluntary. And it used to be voluntary, and the person we had basically said, I can't do this anymore. There's a lot of hours going in, and it wasn't getting paid. And then the current one took over a while ago. He has a great background. He was a state public health official and all that. So he's been doing that, and actually he is getting paid a stipend of $1,000 a month now that was voted by the select board out of the CARES money since April. So we decided that we need to make it an official position, run it through the PQB, and advertise it. Whether this person remains that or not, we're not sure. It's open to people applying.
And the current grant money, what's the expiration date for the current grant money? Is it the 31st of December of this year?
No, this is the CARES Act money, and that goes through June of next year so far, Ed, is that right?
Yeah, it goes through the end of fiscal year 21.
Yeah. This is the second phase of it. And the CARES money is because of this COVID issue that we're going through now. So there's no guarantee that it'll last beyond that. And we're in the process. Ed is working with department heads to put together all the expenses that we can submit for phase 2 of the CARES Act funding. And we got the first time around, was it 323,000 or something, Ed?
No, I think it was like a total of.
Where we applied for 300?
Yeah, we applied for 300, but anything that falls into the category that FEMA will pay for, they reduce it by 75%, which is the FEMA's portion. So I think my memory is I think it was either $236,000 or $237,000 out of the phase 1 portion.
That was our 75% of what we submitted, correct?
Well, some of it was reduced by 75%, and then some of it that it didn't fit into any of the categories, and we submitted it under other, that was at 100%.
Okay. But anyways, we got a good chunk of $250,000 or so from that. We're hoping to get, at least that, if not more, the second round. And the EMD funding was specifically a line item in that request to the CARES funding.
Correct.
Is that going to be enough to attract anybody?
If it wasn't COVID, if this COVID pandemic wasn't here, the job would be a lot less stressful and a lot less hours. So,
what wouldn't be?
Yeah, good point.
True.
So we were fortunate that we had somebody with the background because he's really helped us out in getting the PPE and organizing the emergency center and all that stuff. So
he's already doing that, and this is going to be.
Yeah, he's
going to be welcomed by him.
Yeah,
Yep.
definitely.
Okay. All right. So, do we hear a motion?
I move to accept the request for position.
Yeah.
For the EM, Emergency Management Director. All right. All right, moved by Rachel. Is there a second?
I'll second.
A second by Barbara. All right. Roll call vote. Mary?
Aye.
Rachel?
Aye.
Barbara?
Aye.
The chair is aye. So passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other PRFs? I believe there are none.
No, not at this time. There will be for your next meeting.
Okay. Forewarned. Okay, number 7, old business. If there is any to be brought up. All right, hearing none. New business. We got a review of the special town meeting. Any specific issue there to discuss, or just a general feedback?
Yeah, I know Barbara and Ken were there. Mary and Rachel, were you there?
Yep. Yes, I was there.
It's hard to tell who behind mask was.
I know it. It's true. Well, I want to thank you guys for doing such a good job. I mean, wow. Floyd always does a good job, and everybody was clear, and there was a lot said, a lot to take in. So I was glad I went to it.
I mean, I got to say, because I really stepped up, and I'm the one that had the planes fly over, so I deserve that credit,
Yeah.
Well done.
I was just happy that the weather actually rain stopped and we could have it. We didn't have to worry about postponing it for another week.
Right, and you had to make that decision by 6 o'clock, right?
Yeah, I had probably pretty much made up my mind by about 4:45 after taking a look at the radar and a couple of different hourly forecasts again, that it seemed to look like it was going to end, actually looked like it was going to end sometime at 8 a.m. from everything I was looking at. But I still headed out to the field for 6 because the chair tables were supposed to get delivered anytime between 6 a.m. and 7:30 a.m. It was pitch black and cold. I got there. It's a little after 6.
Wow.
So, okay, maybe Ed deserves more credit.
Thank you to both.
And of course, the one thing I actually couldn't tell at the time until probably about 7 a.m. as the sun came up was the fact that there was a few puddles of standing water, not only in the parking lot and the infield portion, but it wasn't until a little later when I got out there, when the chairs actually arrived, that I found standing puddles in the grassy area where we're going to set up. But fortunately, a good amount of that actually sank into the ground and got absorbed by the sun once it came out.
Not enough to be classified as vernal, right?
Oh, fortunately.
Concom would have shut down the meeting.
Did tell us to wear our boots, which I did.
Okay, then moving along then to next item, committee discussion on meetings and meeting procedures and review finance committee duties. And we basically had that handout as provided by Mary.
Yeah. This one here,
Yes.
which was very thorough. Thank you.
Yeah, so we did a great job of that.
Yeah. Yep. What's it going up here? Can you use the screen on that, Mary?
Yes, I'll do that.
I'll lose you guys again.
Lose us?
Every time you do that, I don't know what I'm doing here, so I lose you, and I have to come back in.
Just don't touch anything, Barbara.
I'm going to try not to. Oh, there, there. Oh, gone. Oh, I'm still here. Oh, gone. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Barbara, I don't know if you have it, but I can only see 4 people at a time, and on the bottom of the 4th person, there's a little arrow I push to see the rest of the people. So I have to toggle back and forth.
Okay. Right now, I can't see anybody.
Can you see this the screen with the ground rules?
No, I just have my standard whatever.
Okay.
So I don't know what I hit or what I should hit. What I'm going to do is go back to the meeting. I'm going to try. Go back to Zoom.
We can see you fine.
Funny. Like I said, I don't really know what I'm doing here. All right, I'm going to just go out and come back in. That's what I've been doing all night, by the way.
All right. Well, we can start off with, I guess, that first page, the FinCom ground rules. Second Monday of each month at 5:30. Everybody comfortable with that? That timeline?
Oh, back. Yeah, I thought it was good for me.
And I
I'm back.
know that also melds into the last one of limit meeting to 1 hour. I don't know if you can limit it, but
And the thought was.
basically use it as a guideline.
Right. The thought was, certainly there's going to be emergency situations that, will be longer when we're doing the budget preparations. Certainly we'll have longer, more frequent meetings, but on general to, keep it to an hour so it's a productive, informative.
Yep. I think everybody would agree to that.
So that works with everybody?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
And you may have to meet more than once a month as these PRFs come up and need to approved.
Right.
Otherwise, they sit around for a month and can't be posted.
Right. And so if we kept open Mondays, if you will, on our calendars, even though there may not be a specific, would we be able to accommodate that, the PRFs? Or do we have to have a 48-hour notice or what?
I would say, yeah, but I would, in general, I would probably say if you went for the second Monday of the month, there may be another Monday you would have to meet for those PRF to get it done in between the PPB approval and the select board approval process.
Right. Right.
So what I think he was asking is if we just kind of think about Mondays, we're going to have it the second Monday of the month, but if something comes up, we would wait till the following Monday or the Monday coming up.
Right. That was where I was going with it.
Yeah, makes sense to me. Does that work, Ed?
For the most part, the only thing I'll forewarn you about that you may not have thought about it, I think we have something like 7 Monday holidays here that may fall on a date you're planning to meet or whatever. So
good point.
Just that in the back of your minds. But in general, yeah, that's basically in the Finance Committee in the past.
But aren't the Monday holidays usually a third Monday? Not sure.
I think they're all over the place, to be honest with you.
Okay. All right. Be on time, come prepared. I guess that's pretty straightforward. Open-mindedness, stay on point. Receipt of documents. Any other thoughts?
No, I think
On that page? If not, can we have the page? Right?
Just one. If it comes to be 5:30 and you have a quorum of finance committee meetings, you don't need to wait for Ed or myself. I'm the liaison and not a voting member, and Ed is the town administrator. So don't wait to start the meeting in case Ed and I are a couple of minutes late if we happen to be. We don't want to hold up the meeting. I know if I wouldn't be there at all, I'd try to give you an email up front, Ken. But yeah. Don't hold up the meeting for us because you folks are the finance committee.
Right.
okay. Good idea.
But also you provide background information that's...
Well, true, but I don't, especially if you're going to try to go to about an hour or so, you don't want to wait. We're usually right there on time, but that's just if we're not.
Yep. Okay. Next page, Mary.
We don't have to put a motion or anything to accept these, right? We're good to go?
I would think so. I would think that we don't have to make a motion, right?
I would agree.
Me too.
FinCom duties. This is pretty much excerpted from the bylaws, right?
Actually, it's from the bylaws and it's also in the annual town report. So I just copy and paste that.
Okay.
The only question I would have to either Ed or John is the last paragraph where it says the annual report. So that's our input for the town's annual report. But does the finance committee also have a narrative that's provided during the presentation of the budget at the annual town meeting? Do we do anything there to explain any of the numbers, or is that a select board since it's their budget? Do you get what I'm trying to get at?
It can actually come down to both. I mean, the committee has, that meeting to agree or disagree on any, budgetary number. Just much like the way we pay to put into the warrant itself financial items of whether the finance committee is recommending, not recommending, or not making any type of recommendation along with that warrant.
I was looking at, I looked at some of the other towns, and they actually have from their finance committee kind of like a, I don't want to say a budget letter, but it explains, what considerations they looked at and how they came to the budget. And I didn't know if here in Southampton that we did something similar with the finance committee, putting together a narrative explaining the budget. Having a 5-year, the 5-year outlook is there, and how, the supporting documentation for how we got those figures, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know if that's something that the town has done in the past, or if that's something that we should consider for the future.
It sounds very good. It sounds like a huge amount of work. It's nice because it crosses your T's and dots your I's. But I don't know what everybody else feels about it.
But isn't our obligation as a finance committee is to review what the town accountant, which I know is open right now, but what the town accountant has prepared for a budget? I mean, I don't think maybe I'm misunderstanding my obligation to this committee, but I didn't think that we were involved in actually creating that budget. We're there to have oversight to ensure that it's fiscally sound and that we recommend it to the board. But I think that's something that's prepared by the town accountant. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I would agree. It's an oversight process. I'd be a little concerned that there's redundancy in a situation like that where you've got management making their recommendations signed off on by the town accountant or vice versa, however it ends up working. And then our situation, you get into the, the line item scenarios that we had tonight with the, the yellow highlights. It's that thought process that gets us involved. But as far as the actual compilation of the budget, I think that's somewhat outside of our purview.
Finance committee, what part do we play in the budget process? Are we on the sidelines, or are we involved? It'll be the first time all of us are going through it, and we don't have anyone who's actually been through it. So what?
No, I mean, I look at it as a checks and balances portion, and the finance committee, should be a part as the requests come in and everything gets compiled. And I look at it as more a select board budget. However, the finance committee should be reviewing everything, and if they've got different ideas, then or agree, that they should relate those. And I'll just give. This hasn't occurred here yet. But suppose for some reason someone proposed a new department or what have you here in the town of Southampton, and as that budget process, and the select board thought it was a good idea or whatever, the finance committee, with all the presentations on that, may think it's a good idea, or they may think that there are some issues behind that, and maybe they aren't in favor of it or whatever, or have some, concern about it. So, those type of things should be brought forward.
Let me add something. And prior to Ed, one other person before that, when I was on the finance committee, when we didn't have a full-time town administrator, the finance committee led the budget process. We had each department submit a proposed budget each year to the finance committee. We would meet with every department to go over the line items, ask them questions, they could ask us questions. Then we would compile the entire budget, and then we would submit it up to the select board. So that's when we, as a finance committee, were very, very involved, and it was very time consuming. But once we got a full-time town administrator worked with the accountant and the departments, and it got submitted up through the town administrator and accountant. They prepared the budget, like Ed was saying, and the finance committee had the opportunity to review it, ask questions on why the changes, why the additions, deletions. And after they were satisfied with their questions, they would either recommend it, send it along to the select board with their recommendation as it was submitted by the town administrator, or say, no, we don't agree with this, we think this, and this should be changed. So we've had years where finance committee disagreed with submissions, and then the select board sits down with the finance committee and kind of goes together and discusses the differences. And the end result is the select board has to make the final decision, but the input from the finance committee, at least to me, has always been important, because like Ed says, it's another set of eyes. And it's kind of also oversight on the town departments and accountant and town administrator putting it together. It's this is finance after all. So, if it wasn't put together well by and I'm not saying it wasn't, by the town administrator or accountant, the finance committee had the opportunity to look at it and pick up on it before it came to the select board. Because let's face it, if it just went right to the select board, we may not pick up on something. So it's kind of, and I think Ed said, it's the check and balances using the finance committee. And it's evolved over the years, but I still think it's an important function that the finance committee plays in this review.
Okay. Any other comments?
I think this is where my comes in instead of waiting. It says review finance committee duties, and this I think is one of our duties. So I'm going to ask. The person that approached me said that they would like to have a member from the finance committee to sit on the community preservation committee. So I think when I read our bylaws, that we are supposed to be part of different committees. Somebody should be sitting with them. Is that right? So they meet the first Wednesday of the month at 5:30 usually. And they want, and then she said, I'm not sure I understood it, a voice and a vote.
Now, Ed, weren't you supposed to get some committee assignments from last meeting for the finance committee so they could know who they needed to have a liaison for?
Yeah, and I've been so busy with everything else, I'm like you, I didn't get around. I can tell you that there are two committees that, not as liaisons, but as voting members, someone from the finance committee is supposed to be on, and that is the, great, excuse me.
Kind of flap his arms.
Yeah, exactly. The committees where a finance committee member has a voting slot is the community bastion is one.
What is that?
And the PPPB is,
I didn't hear the first one, Ed. What did you say the first one?
the community preservation committee is one, and then the other is personnel policy board.
So, Barbara, the CPC was the one you were talking about, I believe.
Yes.
That's a voting
Right.
member.
Yes.
So you need to elect two people as representatives, voting members on those committees.
So those requirements already exist,
Yes, they do.
and the positions are vacant, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I would be willing to do the conservation one once I check my schedule on Wednesdays when things get back to normal. But I don't know, do you elect somebody? They don't volunteer? What's going on? Because there's only 4 of us, 5 of us. 4 of
Did
us.
you say conservation or community preservation, Barbara?
I said the wrong thing. Community Preservation Committee is the one I'm talking about. I don't read it, I don't get it right.
Well, I mean, somebody could simply say they're interested in doing that, and the members say, yeah, that's perfect, I have no interest in that. I make a motion that so is a representative to, the community preservation, and one seconds that, and they voted in.
Right. And by their membership in that committee, is it assumed that that individual is representing the finance committee?
Yeah.
So would
And the
have
community
to discuss things with you guys?
Community preservation is an interesting one, and I won't get all of the different lots, but when community preservation was adopted, there are certain boards and committees that are the state basically requires you to have on there and be representative as voting members. There are, some large members from the community in general, but one of the ones that they included in Southampton's bylaws were representative from the finance committee. But like planning boards represented on there, conservation's represented on there, and I'd have to go back and look at the bylaw to tell you some of the rest of them.
A select board is on both of those.
All right. Well, all right. Could you put that on your list for our next meeting? That wouldn't preclude Barbara's offer to voluntarily be a member of the CPC. We could,
No, and that way I can check my schedule too, to be sure it works.
we could vote. Now, can we vote on that tonight, or does it have to be noticed as well?
Well, you might want to see if she's actually available to do that before you go in and then have to redo it. Or someone could make the motion that Barbara Szymborski, the Finance Committee representative to the Community Preservation Committee, on the condition that she is available to make those meetings, and that if not, we will elect someone else from our body to be our representative.
Okay.
Go that way.
All
It's
right.
up to you.
I guess I would check and see if anybody else is interested, and also with the PQB, because isn't the PQB meeting this Thursday yet?
Yes, that's the next meeting.
What is that? The
Personnel Policy and Procedure Board. So it's PPPB or P3B.
All right. I heard Q, and I was just, what's PQ? Got it.
Yeah.
All right.
It would be nice to understand what exactly, when are the meetings, how often do people meet, what is discussed, what is voted upon, things of that nature before really, it would be nice to have that information in place before requesting people.
Yeah, I should be able to get those portions of the bylaw, send it out to the members of the Finance Committee, so you know.
I would like to table this till our next meeting, unless it becomes an issue
But
for voting purposes.
Yep.
And I would suggest anybody that has an interest in any of those, look, do you use the site My Town Government for Southampton? Do you folks get into that?
I haven't. But
You should, because you go in there and it lists, just go to My Town Government and go into Southampton, pick the town. It has the list of all the meetings for all the boards, committees. You can look at all planning or all PQB, or you can just look at the month activity right on that site. It tells you when the meetings are, it shows you the agendas, and it shows you the minutes. That's where ours would be too. So you can see when the next PQB is, which is Thursday. You have the Zoom information. You can just zoom in there and, look at it. And if they ask who you are, just say you're on the Finance Committee and just checking in to see how this runs. And also when the CPC, I don't know when their next meeting is, but that'll be on there. Plus, you can also set up reminders for any of those committees on that site, I believe, where if you want to know when the next meeting is, put your email in there and you'll automatically get an email saying a meeting is coming up as a reminder. That's a great site to go to.
okay.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right. So what do we want to do with the CPC? Barbara, do you want to go ahead with that based on the contingency that I think that John Ed referenced?
I can, yes, I guess so. I'll look into it. Like you said, maybe we should wait until it's posted, see if anybody else wants to do it. I don't mind waiting.
Okay.
Rachel actually had a motion to table to the next meeting, so.
That's right.
Yep. Okay.
I
Good
second
idea, Rachel. I second that.
All right. Moved and seconded. Roll call. Barbara,
Yay.
Mary,
Aye.
Rachel,
Aye.
and the chair is aye.
I should say aye. We're having too much fun here.
Okay. Now, mission statement. So, pardon my ignorance, is there a mission statement currently?
I'm not aware of one. Are you ready?
I'm not aware of one.
All right. And is this in keeping with other committees within the town that they have mission statements?
I don't know the answer to all of those. Some do, I know, but not all of them.
Some do, some don't.
Okay. Mary, did you have any comments? I mean, this is your author.
I would like us to actually develop a mission statement so we can let people know how we're going to be performing the duties that we've undertaken, and it kind of identifies, who we are, how we're going to do our job, and why we exist. I like the first one, managing the town's resources with fiscal responsibility. It's short to the point. But perhaps someone else wants to be a little more elaborate. But I think it's important that we actually agree on a mission statement, again, so it identifies us as a group and how we're going to be performing our duties.
I agree with the mission statement. Having one in place so we're all focused on the same perspective. I just have issue with the word managing. We really don't manage those resources. Those are, I think we're really from an oversight perspective. Mm-hmm. And I do like short and sweet as well, so I can remember it.
Right. Yeah, I guess I would have had the same thought about the managing. Looking directly at Mr. Gibson. And Mr. Martin.
I agree, but it's up to you folks as a committee.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Want to change it to overseeing the town's resources with fiscal responsibility?
Yes.
That would be nice. Yeah.
Sounds good.
No.
Else?
Can I add a suggestion?
Yeah.
Providing oversight of the town's resources by wording it that way.
That sounds great.
Okay.
So providing oversight of the town's resources with fiscal responsibility? Or just providing oversight of the town's resources?
I like the whole thing, but that's up to you.
The whole,
Because
Yeah.
fiscal responsibility is what finance is all about, right?
Right.
So 1, 2, or 3, which one are you guys on?
The first one,
Yeah, okay.
And we're going to change that, or the suggestion is providing oversight of the town's resources with fiscal responsibility.
sounds fine to me.
Good for me too.
that is town's resources too broad? Does it mean, should it be financial resources?
Oh, good point.
But financial resources with fiscal responsibility is kind of redundant, isn't it? So you
Right.
maybe take up, yeah. That's why mission statements or any statement, boy, you can wordsmith this to death.
Right. But I mean, technically, if you're saying managing the town's resources, you could be saying, well, you're supposed to be managing the police department physical plant, you know?
Oh, yeah, no, you're right. It's just, every time you look at it, you see something different.
Right.
But actually, when I look at that and I look at town resources, it is personnel. We're going to be looking at PRFs. We look at the assets. We're going to look at capital programs, et cetera. So it encompasses basically all the town's resources. And
Right.
everything has a financial impact.
But it's really from a fiscal perspective or financial perspective. I mean, we don't really have oversight over who someone chooses to fill a void in a personnel resource. We just provide oversight of what we would pay those individuals. Perhaps
Could you put providing the towns, or provide, oh boy, I don't know what to say, providing oversight of the town's resources with financial responsibility? No.
we could do provide financial oversight or
Of the town's resources?
yeah.
That would work.
But we're still back to resources.
But financial resources.
Right.
Providing oversight of the town's financial resources.
Right, you're doing the financial oversight, regardless of how those resources are defined. We're just defining it from a financial perspective.
Yeah. So, yep. Providing financial
Oversight of the town's resources.
So we're providing financial oversight of the town's.
financial resources.
No, not financial, just resources. 'Cause
I'm sorry, financial oversight of the town's resources, right? And then I think fiscal responsibility is implied.
Okay, so providing financial oversight of the town's resources. It's all inclusive right there.
Right.
We're good?
Yeah.
Say it one more time, please.
Providing financial oversight of the town's resources.
Okay. Thank you.
Good?
Yep. So that kicks out the 2 ors, right?
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Do we need a formal vote on that or just let it go? I don't think.
I would take a vote. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I need a motion to approve the mission statement.
I move to adopt a mission statement as providing financial oversight of the town's resources.
Thank you.
I thought they said financial resources.
Providing financial oversight of the town's resources.
Okay, got it. I second.
Okay. Moved by Rachel, seconded by Barbara. Any further discussion? If not, roll call. Mary?
Aye.
Rachel?
Aye.
Barbara?
Aye.
Chair is aye. All right. Other business? Being none, any liaison reports? Number 11, any other business was going to incorporate, which one now? Was it public comment? Oh, we already talked about that public comment that you received, Barbara, right?
Yes.
All right, so we wouldn't have anything there. Okay. Next regular meeting. Calendar.
The 9th of November is the next.
The 9th, yep. Now, is that,
Not a holiday.
no, Veterans Day is actually on Veterans Day now, right?
It's actually on the 11th.
Right.
Yep.
On the 11th.
Okay, so it would be November 9th, 5:30.
I
And
just want to acknowledge Mary for doing a nice job and getting all these documents together for our presentation. It's very nice work. I know it's a lot.
Yeah, great.
yes, no, we did.
Absolutely.
Before,
Thank you, Mary.
before we adjourn, another question. Ed, can you send me the instructions on how to upload the minutes to the My Town site? And I have to send a copy to Lucy too for her records?
You don't have to if you're uploading them.
Okay.
I mean, you can if you'd like, but yeah, I can send you those directions. It'll also give you the ability to, schedule the meetings, post the agendas, and all of that too.
Perfect. Thanks.
Hey, Mary, can I just
you're
add, make a small comment on the agenda? And going back, under number 4, it says review funds fiscal year 2021. I believe on the select board, we have a standing item that says review expense and revenue reports. So I just wonder if we should try to link them up so when people see the agendas, they'll know.
Expense and revenue reports, okay.
Yeah.
And we haven't received a revenue report. Is that unusual? Does it take a while before a revenue report is sent out?
Well, we should get one at the same time, but they're not always up to the same date because the treasurer collector does the revenue report, and as she gets it in, she has to put in the cash. So she's always behind as far as the effective date of the report, but we normally get them all together. Is there a reason?
And then the two of them, the collector and the an accountant have to get together to basically balance the books for that month before it actually gets posted to the revenues.
But they should get the latest copy of the revenue report, even though it may be the end of last month. They should still have a copy when it comes with the expenses like we do, correct?
Well, it usually takes a while to get the first revenue report during the year. So we should be about due for the first one.
Okay. All right, if there's nothing else, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion? If not, all in favor? Roll call. Rachel?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Barbara?
Aye.
And chair is aye. So we are 25 minutes past our
Hour.
hour set, so we are improving.
Very good.
We'll get there.
All right, then we'll see you all again November the 9th.
Thank you. Good night.
Take care, everyone.
I'll let you know if there's any need for you to meet the week before that for ERS.
Okay. All right, Ed, thank you.
You're welcome.
Take care, all.
Everybody have a good evening.
You too, bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.